Welcome to the plastic surgery tutorial. I'm going to jump in just a second and share a whole bunch of different ideas with you, different handlings, all these things. But I just want to start by saying this is the culmination of many years of research and performing for people and thinking about the trick and all this stuff. Now, I don't mean this particular version has been in development for many, many years, but I've gone through many different kinds of incarnations of fusion tricks, and even fusion tricks that use this pre-torn corner principle. Came up with it many, many years ago, and then developed it with the dollar, first initially with the dollar bill. Then I've done it with playing cards, then this, then that. So I'll get into the history of this and the virtues of this in just a little bit on this tutorial. However, I just want to start by saying, I think you're going to love this. It instantly resets. Okay, once I show you how to prepare the card, this instantly resets. You can do it again and again. It's so organic. I mean, you're not using something suspicious. You're using, one of the world's most common items. A loyalty card, rewards card from a simple coffee place. Carl's Coffee. Sounds like it could be a coffee shop in Philadelphia. Could be in Germany. Could be in Italy. Could be in Australia. Could be it's just Carl's Coffee. So I specifically designed this so that it could be used and look like nothing. Look like it could be from anywhere in the world, all right? A lot of effort went into the design. There's even a secret trick within the trick. I'll reveal that to you in a bit. So instantly repeatable, basic sleight of hand too. I mean, very simple. I'm going to show you a couple different handlings here. One that involves no sleights whatsoever. Nothing to palm, nothing to ditch. You're going to really like that one. But even the more advanced ones require basic sleight of hand. So that was what I love about this. Also, I love the fact that the gimmick, you're going to tap the table, the gimmick's virtually indestructible. Not the gimmick, the prop. The prop is virtually indestructible because I actually had a trick quite similar to this called scar tissue, made out of cardboard, and I used to perform it all the time, but of course out of cardboard or cardstock. It used to wear and tear and stuff like this. So it's virtually indestructible. You're going to be perform with this card for years, which I love. And finally, the thing I love the most about this trick, apart from the shocking image, that image is crazy. People cannot get over that fusion image. Apart from that, is the fact that the magic happens in their hands. You've found this out already, even if you only do a few tricks. I bet you do something that happens in their hand. The card changes, the coin changes, something vanishes, something appears in their hand. It grounds the magic. It means that people, they're more engaged, they find it more believable, more credible. So for all those reasons, I predict that this trick, plastic surgery, is hopefully going to become one of your go-to performance pieces. Here is the one-time preparation you need to do so that you prepared the card for a gazillion shocking performances, okay? Now, you're going to need a packing knife, okay? Packing knife. And if you're a very young person, please maybe ask someone to help you with this, an adult. Remember the old adage that if this is dull, it's going to slip, it's not going to cut as well, and if it gives you a cut, it's going to leave a nastier scar on a dull knife than a sharp knife. Kind of paradoxical, but there it is. Or this will work for a pair of scissors, okay? But this, I really think, is the preferred method, and I'll show you why in a second. Along with these two, you're going to need a card and also a ruler, some sort of way to measure. And this is, I'm going to tell you exactly why. I specifically designed this corner that's printed on the back, okay, to be of a certain size. It is in fact not, and if you look at this, before I tell you, you'd never guess it, because this simply looks like the corner from the front here. This is actually slightly smaller. In the size of this corner, the font, everything here is slightly smaller than the actual corner over here. Okay, it's slightly smaller by about 15%. And there's a reason I did that. Now, you might have noticed I put 2 marks on the card here with Sharpie marker because I want you to be able to see them very clearly. 1 mark there and 1 mark there. Now, if you measure the 2 sides here, you will find that printed on here, they are 1 1/4 by 1 1/4 by 1 3/4. Okay, 1 1/4 by 1 1/4 by 1 3/4. But I want you to cut off a corner piece that's a slightly bigger than that. And I'll show you for a very good reason why. Makes this handling and the magic so much more visual and clean looking. And so what I suggest you do is to measure 1 3/8. Okay, so from the corner here, you're going to measure 1 3/8 inches and make a little mark. Okay, I deliberately made it a lot bigger. You could do this with the tiniest mark, because obviously at the end when you cut it off, you don't want to have a mark there. And again, from the very corner here up to here, 1 3/8. That in the end is going to give you a piece. Here, I've already got one prepared. It's going to give you a piece this big. And the reason, and I'll get into a moment why this is the perfect size, okay? But so here I am, okay? And I've got my 2 marks here, my 1 mark there and 1 mark there, and I'm getting ready. And what I'm going to do is take my straight blade, okay? And I'm going to start here, and I'm going to slowly just go down in a line. Now you can prepare this. You maybe don't want the line to be absolutely straight, okay? And I'm going to go over this a few times. Okay, now again, you could take a pair of scissors, and if you wanted, you could cut this, okay? But now I've got, I don't know if you can see it, I've scored along here. So what this means is I can bend now, and you can see, look at this, look what's starting to happen here. And again, the marks you'd make would be much smaller. You could even just make a little scratch, okay? You don't want to, but this bend, it means it's now having a nice, clean, not perfect, but almost perfect line, okay? And I'm going to go back and forth. Now, there, that's what you need to do, okay? Like this. Now, what you might want to do is go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until you tear it right off. It snaps right off. However, it can leave an overly rough, and what can happen is some of the enamel or even from one of the layers of this credit card can come off with it. You don't want to make something that's too unique, okay? So what I like to do now is take the straight blade again and just go along on this side now. And that will prevent, there we go. Now I'm almost there. You can only tell, okay, here we go. Nice, nice. Back and forth, and careful now. Okay, like this, like that. Oh, that's good. That's the preparation. Now, why did I have this sizing so important? Because you're going to see in the handling, one of the handling I'm going to teach you, this lovely idea where the piece, you can show your hands empty after you pretend to snap it off. The piece can be put right on the back of the card as you say to someone, hold it your hand and look. The piece is designed to be just a little bit bigger than that piece, okay? So you're not, now it could have been the exact same size, but then you have this fidget, you know, then there's always a possibility. Imagine if they saw, let me set this up here for you. Let's see, there. I don't want them to see that. This is a close-up magic trick. So you're going to see when you snap this off, because I've instructed you to cut this a little bit bigger than what's actually on here, okay? You can say to someone, hold your hands, whatever. And this image, the difference between you laying it on there where they see the piece, and that's actually the piece. You can barely tell on camera what's the piece and what's the fusion. But that's there like that. So in a couple of minutes when they open their hand, first, what's really cool about this, is, and I'll show you this, is you're going to find that the steel off, okay, the steel off of the piece, it's actually over here, okay? The steel off of this piece is imperceptible because it matches perfectly with that. So anyway, that's your preparation. Going to cut off the corner. Be careful with that, okay? You don't want to ruin your card. Take your time with that, and you're going to have this amazing prop that will serve you very well for a long time to come. So apart from using a little sleight of hand and a whole lot of imagination, the basic principle behind this trick that makes it so deceptive to people and why you can be, you know, that wonderful situation of being one ahead is using this pre-torn corner, or in this case, pre-snapped corner principle. Now, this was first published by me back in the 1980s. Late 80s, in one of my books, in a trick called Identifying Features. It was a dollar bill transpo, and it involved the principle. What you needed to do was tear a corner off a bill and then head into a trick with the corner already secretly torn off, and how that puts you far ahead for the transposition effect. So this idea of tearing off a corner and then handling the bill like it wasn't and pretending to tear it at that moment may strike a few of you as something you've heard recently, let's just say in other magic circles. And unfortunately, since Identifying Features, and then since I released Scar Tissue, which is again over a decade ago, where the corner of a playing card, of a business card, pre-torn, you pretended to tear it off and fuse it onto, taxi cab. And one of the reasons why I developed this is because I performed that trick so often. I was just burning through a card, you know, they're made out of cardstock, printed on cardstock, burning through them. I thought, my God, there's got to be a better way to make a prop that's more durable, that still taps into the same wonderful principle, hence this trick. But even though I released Identifying Features in the 80s, and then Scar Tissue, and in fact at least one other card trick in a project of mine called Buried, was it Buried Treasure? No. Soiled, man, can't even remember it. Anyway, with a bunch of young magicians, if you're a fan of my work, you'll know which one I'm blanking on. It's got a mason jar on the cover. I've released it a few times. Unfortunately, though, as in magic, and it happens, magicians, unfortunately, are not always the most ethical people. It's in any industry. So in the last few years, there have been a couple of relatively well-known magicians who have ripped off this principle and applied it much the same way I have for many years, manufactured stuff around it without ever giving me credit for this pre-torn corner thing. So I just wanted to make sure for my fans here who purchased this in good faith, I wanted to make sure you understood that the reason why I wasn't giving these other guys credit for the principle is because they don't deserve it, okay? My other stuff is very well known. I'm lucky in magic circles, my stuff's pretty well known. So I even have contacted the companies, one company in particular who ripped this off, and credit to somebody else who frankly doesn't really release anything original, so people should have seen that anyway. But I contacted them and said, so come clean here, at least, give me credit. They have not, and that's life. I don't lose sleep over that. I got too much to do. But I just wanted to give you a little background on where this principle comes from. So now let's jump into all these great handlings and cool tricks you can do, all based on this sort of pre-torn principle, but now with a plastic loyalty card. Don't just watch, listen. What makes this snap-off so convincing for people is not just that it looks exactly like you just snapped off the piece, but it's also the audio. So you're going to find that this is very easy to do, and like I said, requires just basic sleights. The only part that you really need to practice and practice believing in is the false bend-off, okay, and the snap-off, all right? So you have the piece, and it's in basically a finger palm. It's not much, just sort of held out in a hand there like that in finger palm. You have this. Now I'm going to show you how you can very easily and smoothly and automatically and under the gun, the whole thing, get into this position. But first I wanted to show you that this is your focus point for this whole trick. Now, the audio sells it, but it doesn't. You don't absolutely require it. I'm going to show you some handlings that don't have the audio, but they're still very convincing. Here I am in studio, and it's just, let's see if it's silent. Yeah, it's crazy silent, apart from a couple of birds outside. Very, very quiet. And you're going to find in most performing situations, in bars and pubs and at school and at parties and things, it's never this quiet. So keep that in mind when I'm showing you this audio stuff. So if I have the piece in my hand and I hold it literally, this is the position here. Basically, I'm holding the two together, but my hand's concealing it. Right now, it looks like I've got the royalty card here, okay? And if I start, and when you bend, you don't want the hands to be different than each other, okay? To sell the bend. You don't want one hand to hold like this and one hand like this. You really want the two hands to look the same. That's what really sells this idea of bending the corner. And if I'm rubbing the edges of this against this at the same time, oh. Now, in real life, that's what I love about magic. In real life, if you were to take a credit card, start to bend it back and forth, it's not going to make the same sound. Okay? But this sound really sells the idea. Okay? So all I'm doing is starting with a little wiggle and then bigger and bigger, and you can really pronounce this. And because these fingers and thumb are going to cover, you're good on angles because you put the thumb over the gimmick part and it covers so much your angle even when you go wide like this, okay? And if people are nearby though, if they're sort of surrounded, then you bring it into your chest, which looks natural anyway because you're trying to work that corner. So you're going to go back and forth a number of times, getting larger and larger, and then finally it's going to snap off. Now, to add to the snap off, your right thumbnail, and I have short nails, okay? Your right thumbnail, you're going to catch the lip of this with the right thumbnail on the back, and then moving that forward, get that really nice, listen to that. I mean, that's a great sound. You combine the two together with this palmed and this here, if you want to use your audio, back and forth, and then you have the tear off with your thumbnail, or the snap, like that, and the visual. So even without the audio, speaking of audio, nice big garbage truck going by, even without the audio, the visuals, let's assume I'm not going to do any of the audio components. Sorry. The visuals of this coming off are undeniable. Okay, but you add a little bit of audio component to that, and it really sells the eye that this was taken off. So that's your primary sleight. That's the primary thing you need to practice in front of a mirror and get really confident with. And it's a beautiful opportunity to do a little bit of acting, because we both know that this shouldn't come off too easy, but nor too hard. You're not going to spend 5 minutes going back and forth. So somewhere in the middle, okay? And you'll find in different performing situations, your hands will sell the illusion in different ways as well. Now, If this is our primary, how do you get into that situation? There's lots of ways to do this, okay? Lots of ways to do this. One simple way is to have the piece in your right pants pocket, right? And then you can say, look, let me show you something. You can have this in your pocket as well. And you simply come out like this, okay? I've got this palmed, this covered, and I can go right into it from there. That's one way. I find the way I really like to do it is with my wallet. The whole virtue of this trick that I love is it's, and I even mentioned on the preview for this trick, the video, the trailer, that, when someone asks you, hey, can you show me a trick? And you're not in a professional situation, you're standing in line going into a movie, or you're on the bus or whatever, hanging out with friends, and someone says, hey, can you show me a trick? And so what I do is this. I have this gimmick, and I'll put it right, show you exactly what I do with it. In my wallet, okay? Have it in my wallet. Not all the way tucked in, I typically have it there. Okay, but if it's all the way tucked in, it's no big deal. So now, okay, someone can say, hey, can you show me something? And I say, sure. And I open this up and I look as if I'm going to show them something with something. Oh, well, I don't know what I'm going to use. And then I just slide this right out and I'm into it. Okay, and the line I usually say is, yeah, let me try something with this. I don't go to this place anymore. Or I don't use this anymore. Or, there's no more money left on this card. Some line that feels right for you. And I love the fact that my hands are empty. I come out like this and I do that. Okay. Now, sometimes what I've done is I go and I take one card out. Okay, I'll take one card out and flash it. They can see it's a complete card. It's a whole card. Here I go. Actually, no. Let me use this because I don't go there anymore. And that showing the corner of the one piece really sells the idea that this is a complete card too. All right. So I can either have the corner in here with it like that. Okay. And again, because it's a casual situation, I can open this up. My thumb can slide the gimmick right into my finger palm, and then I can grab the whole thing there, and I'm good to go. So no pocket management. The whole thing was waiting for me in here. So it'll be up to you to find, of course, your way to get into it, but I think the wallet suggestion is the easiest. Or maybe combine the two. You can have this, and it's always ready to go, and have this in your pocket with some coins or whatever else you happen to have in there. Whenever you want to do this, boom, you get that in the finger palm, then this comes out. Okay, but I'm going to show you a bunch of different handling ideas. But this is the basic handling I'm trying to show you. So you line that you're going to do your back and forth with the audio with this handling. Okay, you're going to do the snap off like this. Going to show this, and now the line I use. And again, let's say I'm going to use the dollar bill here. Okay, dollar bill here. At this point, I say, great. I say, does anybody have a $5 bill or $1 bill, something? And all the evidence is here. I already sold them on this. So I just take, and I turn this over, put it, like I told you earlier, right on top of the piece. And now there's no evidence. My hands are, I shouldn't say there's no evidence. I should say now there's nothing to see. Okay, so what I'll typically do, snap this off. Say someone got some money, lay this down here, real casually there, and then to make sure the two are overlapping nicely, I use my left thumb just to adjust it to make sure it's there, and say hold at your hand. And as they hold their hand, I can put the piece down, okay? I can show it very fairly. Show my hands, have them hold the dollar bill on their hand, okay? And I say your right hand or your left hand. And as I transfer this from one hand to the other, let me just lower this a little bit. I want you to be able to see this. Okay, now, so I'm here. I've snapped off the piece. I put it here like this. I say, hold at your hand. And my hand's empty. And as I say, hold at your hand like this, I literally transferred over here, adjust the bill in their palm, and I'll slide the gimmick off or just let it fall into the hand. Then when I come back down and I put this here, they can see the piece is still there, but I've switched it out, okay? So it's here. Now, if you're left-handed, very easy to show this piece. Turn it over here. Say, hold at your hand. And as I say, hold the hand, I'm going to loosen my grip and let that fall. Let me make sure you see this. Let that fall into the hand, okay? Falls into the hand, then I can literally lay this down on their hand now. And I take the bill or pick up the bill, wrap the bill around. So what I like about this is that they can see down to this last second. They can see the piece that was just snapped off, folded inside the bill. Nothing to see, okay? Now notice too, if you're feeling a little uncomfortable about holding this out, palming this piece, what you can do too, snap this off, right? Put this here, say, hold your hand, does anybody have a dollar bill? Actually, I think I've got one in my pocket. And I just go to my pocket to get the bill, leave this behind. This is still here, right in their face. So totally sell the idea, it's still there. And now I can come out with my hands empty, okay? Wrap the piece up inside. So far ahead. Okay. Then I ask them to rub their hands together, get them nice and warm, whatever. Here, like put the bill back in their hand, okay? Have them squeeze, 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 apply a lot of pressure, okay? And when I then open the bill, or ask them to, looks like nothing's happened. But then you have them pick this up, and they discover impossibly the piece is fused right onto the card, and your hands and the bill are absolutely empty. Now, in just a moment, I'm going to share with you what I think is particularly diabolical, devious kind of handling, where no sleights are required whatsoever. Okay, nothing to palm, nothing to get rid of, and I've performed it many times. It's probably, I don't perform it as much as the handling I just shared with you. I do versions of the handling I just shared with you the most. But before I show you this, super sneaky, no palming handling, let me show you a few ideas. First, if, of course, going to your pocket for a dollar bill is a great way to ditch the piece, okay? Or you could do it earlier and even use it to get the piece if you wanted to, right? So go into your pocket for a dollar bill. Go into your pocket for the perennial lighter. And I do say this on a few of my my tutorials, but since you are talking about fusing, you are talking about fusing a piece of plastic with a piece of plastic, which, well, another reason why I created this version of it is Scar Tissue, the original version of this, had the idea of a piece of paper fusing with another piece of paper, which, well, it makes sense. Paper, wood, heat, fire. It should, I find the notion of warming up plastic, having a piece of plastic fuse onto another piece of plastic, I think is even more credible. Okay, so that's another reason why I produced this. Now, so, like I said, dollar bill, great way to get in and great to isolate the magic in their hand, etc. You can use a paper napkin. Well, again, I love the image. And it's, for me, you've heard that I'm all about images, and I love this image. I love the contrast of this against the plastic, and again, they're holding it in their hand, okay? You could even, what I've also done, and it might strike you as a bit bold, but again, I just want to share with you a bunch of different handling ideas here, is having put this on here like this, okay, having put it on the corner, I'll say to someone, would you hold out your thumb and finger like that? That's perfect. I'll turn this over, move it to the fingertips like this very carefully, but I've actually just stolen off the piece in finger palm, and I have them, I say, hold it thumb and finger, I want you to hold the two pieces together, and as I say, I want you to really squeeze the two pieces together, I'll just let them push. Now, they're not going to feel an edge, but if they're holding, between thumb and finger, the actual piece on the card, they wouldn't feel an edge either. They would just feel plastic to plastic, and it would be slightly thicker. I've done this handling a bunch of times, and nobody ever feels a lack, no one ever notices that this grip at this point is this much thinner than it should be. So that's another way to really isolate it. They're holding it like that. Now you get the flame, wave it around like this. So they're literally holding on to the piece with no cover. No napkin, no bill. That's, I think, a bolder, more brazen way to go, but it's going to work for some of you, I know. Okay, so lighter, paper napkin, dollar bill. Gotta mention this, though, ever since I did the Penn and Teller show and secretly fooled those guys. Crazy video on YouTube, gotta check it out, where I sort of reveal exactly what happened. Having said all that, rubbing the elbow. I mean, how perfect is this, okay? If you want to, the old rubbing the elbow thing where you rub like this and you rub like this, and you're doing that in order to typically make something, to ditch something secretly behind your shirt collar, your jacket collar, whatever. So in this case, I mean, after snapping this off, okay, I can literally go down like this. Let me heat the edges, okay? Rub the edge there, perfect motivation, warm that up. Rub the edge there, perfect motivation, and just ditch this behind my neck. I mean, how easy is that? Now you come in and you press like this, okay? Like this. Turn, and crazy magic. Empty hands, fuse. There's no heat. No one's thinking about your shirt or your sleeves or whatever. Everybody wants to see this darn card right now, please. They can't believe what you just did. So that's another way to do that, okay? And you've just left the piece. I just dropped it on the floor. Luckily, I'm prepared. Okay, so that's another way I had to share with you. The old elbow thing works so well. Not for magicians, they'll see it. But for lay people, this flies every single time. Striking Vanish. Do not forget about the old Striking Vanish. Let me adjust the camera here, okay? Now this is David Williamson's brilliant move, the Striking Vanish. Love this. And whenever I'm teaching this to students, I always emphasize that when I first saw this, I thought it was amazing, and I practiced it the way David teaches it, and I found it too hard for me. I really did, so I want to teach it the way I do it. Okay, maybe it's not quite enough room here, but you can snap this off, of course, then take the piece, okay, and you're going to do the Striking Vanish, snap it, and show. Boom. Okay, and there's no people are not thinking, I bet it's an extra piece, I bet he magically got it in the other hand, I bet this was printed on there at the printers months ago. All they see is 1 second, and again, I'm kind of tight in here, let's see though. All they see is, first you snap this off, then they see this, and the next second they see it fused right there, and everybody wants to see the card. Okay, now David Williams' original striking vanish, the technique on it is that you go tap, you go tap, both hands move down, and 1, 2, and on 3 both hands move up, and you chuck the piece into your hand while you come down. I found that up action, up and down, a bit challenging for me. So my tip to you guys is to, instead of the left hand rising up quickly and chucking it, is to drop the left hand so quickly that you leave the piece in the air. And I find that way I can go down, this way it pumps, that way I can go down and literally grab it sort of out of the air. And I find that's easier for me and a bunch of my students I've shared it with as well. Okay? So there's another hand with the striking vanish idea. What else on my list of things I wanted to share with? Of course, flash paper. I mean, flash paper makes so much sense. If you want to snap off the piece, dual false transfer, you've snapped off your piece, boom. Okay, like this. Dual false transfer. Pretend to take it. After snapping it off, pretend to take it the left fingers, okay? Just a simple false transfer can look quite convincing, okay? Go to your pocket for a piece of flash paper. Take out the flash paper, wrap it around the piece apparently, and at this point they can be holding it in their hand, saying, basically this is and you can even tell them ahead of time, snap it off and see if I can restore it, have it fuse right back onto the card while you're holding it in your hand or under the napkin, whatever, okay? So all the heat's off there, you've got just the piece now. Do the false transfer, go to your pocket for a piece of flash paper, wrap it up, and you've got nothing in the flash paper. You just sort of fold it in half. Spark it. Piece is gone. That corner is gone. Magical. Great reaction from FireEye, always fine. Go ahead, lift your hand. They lift their hand and they see, oop, it's not back. Now, no one's thinking it's underneath. No one's thinking it's fused on the other side. The ink is fused into the card. They're just thinking, well, he screwed up. And you go, that's so weird. I wonder. You say, wait a second. And I love this line. I've shared this on a bunch of my videos before. Wait a second. This happened one time before. I love that. Wait a second. This happened one time before. It explains why. It makes it a unique experience for everybody, and that they're in on something special, but it also explains why you know what to do next. And you say, just turn over that card. When they turn it over and they see the corner snapped off and fused, it's a great way to go. And again, your hands are empty. All right? Do not want to forget to mention this, my friends. If you look carefully at the card here, you'll see 4726. There's just a random number I put down there. No surprise. Could mean a million different things when it comes to these cards. 4726. So what do? Of course, this will surprise nobody who's familiar with my work, because I love value added with you guys. So if I have, let's say here, a deck of cards, okay? And I've already done this amazing trick, and I want to do one more crazy thing, though frankly I'd offer an end right there, is to say, look, this is a crazy object now. It's like a magical souvenir. Let's see if we can do something with it. What I want you to do is hold the very corner of it like this. I really am. I say, I'm going to go through the cards. I want you to touch a card, and they touch a card, let's say. Then they touch another card, let's say. And they touch another card, let's say. And they touch one more card. And I emphasize, you guys could have touched literally any 4 cards, and they agree. And they really can. They can touch any 4 cards they want in the entire pack. And I say, great, okay. I say, but turn over the card. Do you notice, do you see the numbers? And they see the numbers. I say, what is it, 4726? I say, wouldn't it be weird if those 4 numbers somehow influenced your choices? And I show 4, 7, 2, and a 6. People, another beautiful example of getting people to freak out. And for that, I mean, there's a bunch of different card ways you can do this, but all I have is on the bottom of the deck, a 4, 7, 2, and a 6. And I'm using Vernon's Substitute Transfer. The VST, my friends. You go through and they touch a card, you out jog it. Go through the touch a card, you out jog it. Go through the touch a card, out jog it. Go through touch a card, you out jog it. You say, so you could have touched any 4 cards. And while you're spreading out the last little bit, you visually see 1, 2, 3, 4 cards from the bottom. You see them and you feel them with your fingertips, and you get a break with your pinky. Now, this isn't advanced sleight of hand, but it's slightly, and it's the Vernon Substitute Transfer, slightly more involved than anything else you're going to learn on this tutorial. I square things up, and while I'm squaring everything up like this, the 4 cards, I've got a little break with my pinky, okay? I'm going to kick those to the side, and it's going to look just like I stripped those out. But what I actually do is it's going to look like my empty left hand pulls these out, okay? But what I actually do is bring these 4 cards along for the ride underneath. So in that moment, I actually have a total of 8 cards in my hand with a break between 2 packets. I strip them out, and I just square the deck and put it aside. Or maybe I square and I point to cover it. So again, touch a card with the magic card that just got fused. This is a great way to follow up and do magic with something crazy you just made in front of them. So in performance, it just looks like this. And I've switched 4 for 4. Then I show them all 4, the 4, 7, 2, 6. They see this, and it's another opportunity for people to lose their lunch. Almost forgot so many ideas I want to share with you guys. Before I go on to this next little section here on the tutorial, another great way to get into this trick. This is not you and your friends, but this is if you're doing a walk-around show or if you're a semi-professional, you're at a house party, whatever. Just walking up to people and say, excuse me, did someone drop this? Anybody drop this coffee card? It's a great way. It makes so much sense that you found this on the floor. And this is an old idea inspired by Derek Dingle, master close-up magician from a long time ago. And he had this idea. What a great way to start rather than going up and saying, hello, I am a magician, pick a card. Just walking up to people and having something, whether it's a coin or something else, some object you're about to do magic with and saying, did someone drop this? But of course it has to be something. You can't do it with a metal miser's dream metal bucket or some strange magic prop. So again, the coffee card's perfect. Say, did someone drop this? Excuse me, yeah, did anybody drop the coffee card? No? Okay. Actually, I'm a magician. Let me try something with this, and you go right into the trick. So that's another idea I wanted to share with you guys. Because I've included 2 of these cards, you might also want to consider switching cards. All right, that's another thing. Now, I have only done this a handful of times. This is very much magicians trying to fool magicians kind of thing. There's a place and time for it. Particularly, I think maybe if you're performing for people who've seen a bunch of your tricks already and you really want... So you can do something with this, with the full card before switching in the prepared card, okay? Just use this as a magic wand, you know? I mean, for literally any trick you do, it's a double lift and the card change, it's a copper-silver trick, it's a mentalism trick, whatever. There's so many ways you can use this, you know, even just taking this out of your wallet and saying, look, I'm going to try to read your mind for something. And say, but to do it, I'm going to use this like an antenna. I mean, I carry my wallet and all this stuff with me a lot. I sort of have a connection with it. I'm going to use this and you know, put it against someone's head, whatever, like this, or just put them on the wrist near their heartbeat, whatever. The idea is to use this in a previous trick so they can see very clearly. And you can flash both sides and cover that if you want. So they can see there's no heat on. It's just a coffee card you happen to have. So that's one thing you can do is use this earlier, then switch in this either in your pocket or notice, okay? You can have this, just get my wallet together here, and this, okay? So I've got the pre-cut one and I've got the ordinary one, okay? So I can literally take this out earlier on like this, okay? Sorry, you don't want to take it like that. Take it out earlier on like this, use it to vanish a coin or make something appear, have a card change, whatever. Start to put it away in here, okay? And then say, wait a second, actually I'm going to show you one more thing with that. And I've just switched this for the other one, okay? You can do it that way too. I mean, again, the key with this kind of thing is don't think that anybody is don't run, because no one's chasing you. People are not looking for that in this kind of casual trick environment, okay? So switching, another thing you can do is, I'm sure you'll remember this, this is an old card trick, and I actually do this, I've done this for many years, with or without the coffee card as a reason. The old have someone pick a card, okay, and then you control the card to the bottom of the deck, okay? Now what I've done many times before I came up with this cool trick is, let's just see here. You can use a credit card, my health card, whatever, okay? Or my driver's license. Now notice, if you borrow one of their cards, you borrow someone's driver's license, say, I'm going to try to find the card you're thinking of, but you've actually controlled it to the bottom. And we're going to try to bring our 2 minds together. So I'm going to use something of mine, in this case the Canada Health card, and you've got your driver's license, and let's see. And you're going to do this old thing that, you know, people do with 2 jacks or 2 playing cards, but boy, when you get somebody else's stuff involved, it's so much more magical. So I'm here, and all I'm going to do, of course, is toss the deck out from between the 2. And just like that, 2 cards. Sorry about that. Here we go. Just like that, 1 card stays. Okay, now, if you're not like me, sitting and sweating in the studio with overly warm cards, it'll work. All you're going to do is put the 1 card in the bottom and 1 card in the top, and your fingertips on the face of the selection at the bottom. okay? So that when you give a shake, it's just a light touch. One card suddenly appears between the two, and it's the thought of card. And it really has this sense that, you know, they selected a card, apparently made it look like it went in the middle of the deck, okay? Here, I'm going to cut it into the middle of the deck. So they're convinced it's somewhere in the middle of the deck, but you've cut it to the bottom, okay? So the idea that in the middle of the cards is a card that they are thinking of or they selected, and just a little shake, and out of the middle that card's found, is very cool. Now notice, so you can incorporate that, then switch it. Or what I really like is I can actually use this because of the cut, okay? Because the cut's the bottom left-hand corner, okay? I can take this out. I can do the same presentation. They've selected a card. I've controlled to the bottom. There it is. And as I say, hey, give me your driver's license or a credit card or something. Help me with this. While they're doing that, there's almost no focus on you, okay? So you can open your wallet, take out a coffee card, okay? So I'm going to use something of mine too. And then literally just put this on the bottom of the deck and get their thing here like this, and you're here like this, and you're here like this, and everything looks great. Okay? And even when you do, I was so pleased when I came up with this, even when you do the toss, holding the bottom card, boom, like this, okay? Like this. Well, again, I squeezed too tight, sorry. The toss, everything, you can do a full-blown trick, find the whole thing, and the prepared card is hidden the entire time. So after doing that, okay? Now, boom, I found your card like this. There's no heat on you at all, okay? You come up here, okay, and you can just take their card, give it to them, and now you're in the position you want to be, okay? Especially if you finger palm the card. Oh, I do want to mention this. This is important. The handling of the piece, the corner. I typically have it in right hand finger palm, okay? That's where I like it for the bend and the whole thing. But notice you could have this piece behind the card, okay? If you'd rather have it behind the card, now what you can do is... I don't even know what that is. If this is the last video anybody ever sees me on, let's just say, you know, I love my kids and my wife, and I really, really, really appreciate having been lucky enough to have so many students and fans of magic. Whew, okay, I thought it might be a bomb warning. This could be behind here. You can still do the bend, okay? You can still do the snap like this, and only now bring it back and you sort of do this, like that. They see that, then you bring your hands together here, and now you can show that. So all I did here was sort of steal this off. You could even do this, and use this, pulling it off the back to get that sound you want. Bend, 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 and then right off the back. Okay, that way you can, you know, there's some real virtues there, being able to do this. Nothing's in my hand. I don't have to palm. You can clip it though. I've clipped it before. That frees up the fingers nicely. Finger palm works. Thumb palm not as much. I find that a bit awkward. But if it's behind the card, my right fingers are totally free to do this, and at the last second, then I just pull this, I'm just going to pull the gimmick. Here it is here. I'll turn it this way so you can see it better. But while doing the bend, and then basically that comes right off the edge, okay? But more of almost a tearing action, okay? So that's another way to handle the piece. This is a simple, basic sleight of hand, and it really is about what palms you feel comfortable with and what sort of style suits your performance style. Now, this will not suit everybody. You do need to have, I'd say, a fair bit of moxie, some real performance experience to be able to sell this. But notice, with my hands empty, I can take this out, okay? Like this. I can do this. This. Say, look, the piece, hold out your hand, put that there, the whole thing. So you can do the whole thing without the piece. You don't need this, and I perform this. This is not my go-to, but I performed it a bunch of times, and not just for drunk people. And taking this out, particularly if I've done the card trick earlier, where I borrowed their license and did this, and really let this sink in so it wasn't, rather than just taking it immediately out of my wallet. Because I think if you take it immediately out and you do the snap, there's a bit more pressure for you to show the evidence of the snap, okay? But, because what they want to see is not just this bend, and they don't just want to hear this, but boy, that sounds good, okay? They want to see a piece. So, it's great to be out of the piece to show, but notice there's such a small difference between doing it and then a second later showing the piece. The piece is right there. They want to see that there's a piece, and you snap, you put it down, and you immediately show that piece, okay? And you, of course, you want to handle it. You don't want to handle it too casually, okay? Because then, you know, it's like, whoa, how's that piece staying on there? So you want to make sure that when you snap it off, you lay the piece down, say, hold it your hand, and the motivation of snapping, first bending it, then you get that that nice snap off like that, put it there, say hold. The flow from here to say would you hold your hand is perfect, and the focus isn't, at that point the focus isn't, hey look at the piece, it's hold at your hand please. You're looking down here. So this is almost peripheral information they take up. Boom, like this. Then you could even carefully turn it over, have them put their hand on top, show your hand empty, and go from there. So there's a handling, nothing to palm, nothing to load in, nothing to get rid of. Just start way, way ahead, a little bit of acting, and really freak people out. Here is a trick I really was excited to share on this project because it's relevant to the project, because it uses, you can do it with a credit card, borrowed gift card, credit card, anything you want that's like a sort of like a card shape, credit card. I featured this on another project of mine, which has been discontinued, but I got so much good feedback on this, I wanted a chance to put it on something else. So here it is, credit card through the table. Lots of ways to present this, but this is obviously a variation on the salt shaker through the table, because I'm going to use a little misdirection in this object. Now, I'll tell you right now, I've tried this with paper napkins over the years, after a drink or two. Tried it with paper napkin. It really requires a firm piece of newspaper or magazine. So I'm going to tell you, save yourself some grief. It's great for the work lunchroom, the school cafeteria, because typically there's a newspaper or a magazine or something like that lying around. Have someone give you this. So all you're going to do is say, look, I'm going to try something. Someone got a credit card, a business card, a loyalty card. You take that, okay? I'm going to fold this up here. And for those who are experienced magicians, you'll see exactly where I'm going already, okay? Very straightforward here. Like this, and already the trick is done. Because, I'm not sure if I flashed on camera here, I don't think I did, but by putting that in there, folding this over, I made a tube, perfect tube. Didn't have a crease at the time. And as soon as I tip this up, and apparently hold here, I'm going to let the card slide from inside and directly into my lap. And that's all I did, okay? I had it in the middle here, okay? Here like this, here like this. I apparently hold it here because you wouldn't want it. And I tilt this up, and immediately, just like that, the card is now gone. I fold this down, and making sort of like this, almost as if the card is inside and helping with the corners, but it's already gone. The card is already down in my lap. So what that allows me to do is to borrow a card, fold it up, have someone hold it their hand, say, let's try. Say, would you be impressed if I could have the card melt through the paper? So this is what I call building the effect. I love this part. Would you be impressed? Melt through, and people go, yeah, because they know it's an ordinary paper. You just borrowed their card. It would be impressive to see it melt through. How about if I did it while you were holding on to it? Well, yeah, that would be super impressive. So I tell you what, though, rather than you holding on to it, I tell you what, hold your hand. I'm going to put this right down the table. I show my hands. Say, put your hand on top. Say, look, my hands, in fact, to make sure I can't do anything tricky, I'm going to even hold my hands. You can see they're empty. I'm going to hold my hands below the table like this, okay? Now the whole thing is, now everything's focused on here. They're convinced it's super fair, but all you're doing is getting ready to get the card. They put their hand on top, and you go, I'm going to hit your hand, but not too hard. 1, 2, boom, like that, okay? Boom. I immediately, I don't say a word. I just slowly and dramatically bring my hand up, showing that the card has melted. And when people, at that point, you don't even have to ask people. People always lift their hand. They always look at the paper, and they're shocked to see that their own borrowed credit card or royalty card or whatever not only melted while they were holding on to it, not only through the table, not only through the paper, but right through the middle of a solid table. Thank you again for purchasing Plastic Surgery. I hope you have a lot of fun with this trick. Please keep in mind that it has, apart from live performances and tweaking designs, a lot of time and a lot of thought went into the development of this trick. So much of when I create a trick, I find in presentations and live performance, is about removing. You start with something, most tricks start off pretty fatty. They got lots of loose ends, and the scripting is a little long, and the slights are too many, and only through many, many performances do you remove. Gene Anderson, a brilliant magician who's associated with the classic newspaper tear, Gene Anderson, he in his lecture once mentioned, magic is all about sanding. You sand and you sand. It'd be nice to sand the trucks away from the street there, the garbage trucks. You sand and you sand. And, someone once asked him, well, when do you stop sanding? He said, you sand until there's nothing left to sand. Nothing left to remove. So I think you'll find with a bit of practice, it won't take much, it's basic sleight of hand. With a bit of practice, you'll figure out which handling works most comfortable for you in the situations you like to share your magic and that kind of thing. And then you'll get to the really exciting part for any trick. And that is, you won't have to think about it. You won't be worried about any sleights or angles. You'll be able to just focus 100% or 98% of yourself into the performance, into bringing the trick to life and to connecting with people and ultimately making people wonder.